It just said that you were. Oh, it says just uploaded a video.
Jebediah.
Oh, how's everyone doing tonight? This is Fallen Cerberus with Fallen Podcasts. To the right of me is our guest, Fallen V Links. I think there's a V. And across from me, on the right side, is my host, Fallen V Frost. And we got our two buddies, Fallen V Hades and Fallen V Quest. Now, tonight, we have an arrange of questions that have been prepared for us. And we'll just jump right in, I guess. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing pretty good.
No complaints.
What, alright?
Doing alright.
That's good to hear. In the spirit of the World War III memes, I have on a nice combat helmet. It says "Born to Die." That's apparently all we were good for. And so, Hades, let me ask you this question: what is it considered to be 1% in the GTA biker community?
Are we talking on a grander spectrum or anything specific?
Grand spectrum. What do you consider a 1% club?
A 1% club, honestly, it's a good mix of anything, or everything. Blah, English. You got clubs that shoot, you got clubs that don't shoot. You got honestly, if you ride a motorcycle consistently, you follow the 1% rules, you use ARs only in engagements, pump shotguns, the 1%er allowed weapons, you don't bullshit, you don't blow yourself up, you don't use BST, you don't corner glitch. If you can stay true to the rules that have been set before us by the people who came before us, then I believe that you're considered a 1%er.
Nice. Would Quester elaborate on that?
Your mic just completely lagged. What'd you say?
I said, would you or Frost like to elaborate on that?
I think he pretty much got it.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
have any information I could potentially add. He just pretty much covered all bases.
Alright. So, Quest. What do you think the state of the MC community as a whole is at this current point?
Honestly, it's not good. We got people using clumsy, running FAA programs. It's not good. It really just takes the fun out of it for the people who do play legit, because once you get into those lobby fights and whatnot, it's all just toxic.
Right. Yep. No, that's completely understandable, and I pretty much agree with all that. Would anyone else like to spitball on that?
I mean, I'll let Lynx talk.
Booting is a big thing too. A lot of people boot each other for the fun of it. Really, I mean, there's more booters in this community than non-booters.
Right.
That's true.
Agreed.
It's not as good as the old days when, GTA 5 was first mounting, and, we didn't have all these, pointless updates and vehicles that, just kind of ruin everything. And it's
Right.
just, it's not at, 360 used to be. 360 was perfect in my opinion.
Okay.
Shout out my brothers. Love y'all.
Okay.
There was a question in chat.
Hate 'em.
Yes, I'm trying to. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. Who asked the question? I'm sorry. So a question was asked by Everyday Russian. What was the question?
What's your thought on OG Devil's Rage?
Okay, yes, thank you. Personally, I don't know him, so I'll ask you guys about it.
I'm gonna let Quest go ahead and elaborate on that.
You know, we had some fun times. A lot of rough times. But yeah, I think I don't know. It was a good club while it lasted.
Well,
I mean,
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I had a few run-ins with y'all. Y'all weren't terrible, but that was back when we were first, having encounters with Quest and all that. That was back when he was kind of a lone agent. He wasn't bad back then. Devil's Rage wasn't terrible. Like,
No.
they were a pretty reputable club.
There were a couple things that Devil's Rage did that I disagreed with. Honestly, man, they're not one of my favorite clubs. Like, I'll just put it like that. Like, the Devil's Rage was not a club that I was very fond of.
Right.
But I mean, they didn't openly look for beef with us personally.
But they did openly look for beef. And I disagree with that. And I disagree with the way they went about several things with conducting themselves with other clubs. And a couple of the restrictions that they placed on their members. Like, I was friends and acquainted with several of their members back when they first opened up. And it was a good club. Like, they did do good for the time that they were up. And I respect the hell out of Psycho. He's my brother. Club, but they did do. I just wasn't fond of the club. I
Right.
don't know. This could be more for personal reasons, but I disagreed with a lot of how that club was managed, and honestly, I believe that the mismanagement of that club to some degree was cause for their downfall.
Well, Mr. Everyday
Hope that
Russian,
answered your
I hope
question.
that answered your question accordingly. Back to some of our questions. Frost, I'll ask you this one. What do you think can fix the community?
Honestly, and I'm just gonna put it like this: a lot of these TDM clubs that I personally look down on them. Like I wouldn't call a lot of them clubs, but I'm not gonna get into that. But I feel like if a lot of them would learn what the actual OG rules were, and if they have a lot more respect for a lot of different clubs besides themselves, we
Right.
stop a lot of this conflict that happens in the communities. Because if you look at it, all the shoot first clubs, all the TDM clubs, they're the ones that tend to start beefs, and then it just kind of spirals out of control.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes complete sense. Would anyone else like to elaborate on that?
I
Okay.
honestly, man, I agree with what Frostbite said wholeheartedly. Like, back in the day, man, like 360, and even before the biker DLC, man, I remember that, like, you had your pick of about 12 different leather jackets. There were about 5 different Harley-style cruiser bikes that the
Yep.
community regularly used, and that was it. It was a lot more difficult to call yourself a biker. There was actually dedication involved in doing that. And the
Yep.
community consisted of only a couple hundred clubs, if that. It
If
was a lot
that, yeah.
easier to get your name out there, and honestly, like, it just took a lot more heart. Nowadays,
Right.
anybody can throw on a patch. There's plenty of cuts, there's plenty of bikes. It takes no dedication whatsoever to do what we do anymore.
Right.
And I feel like we gained a lot with the biker update, but we also lost a lot.
I agree. Okay.
I mean, back in that
Nope.
day, there was these. I like to call them the big three clubs, because I mean I wouldn't even say there was a few hundred clubs. There was very limited clubs, because you barely saw them half the time. But the big three were like Devil's Few or Rock Machine, if y'all ever heard of them, and Banished Breed was kind of later in those days, but they were called Los Demonios back then.
Yeah, I remember
that
that.
was one of the big three.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
those guys were like the definition of the community.
Don't forget about
Right.
Reaper Lords.
Well, yeah, Reaper Lords wasn't as prominent as Rock Machine was, but when Rock Machine kind of shut down, then that's when they stepped in.
Honestly, man, like, Banished Breed, back before they got the whole name change and everything, and even after the name change, like, Banished Breed was a very influential club to me. Like, I joined the community in early 2015, and had it not been for like a combination of Sons of Anarchy, The Lost and Damned, and watching Banished Breed's videos on YouTube, I probably would have never like joined the community in the first place.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I truly think if they took out the booting, the OVHs, VPNs, clumsy programs, and FA, this community would be a lot better as a whole.
Right.
But there's really no way to combat those.
Yeah, I was
because,
about to say
like
that
you
because
said,
that's
the
a
booting,
personal
Rockstar
thing.
has-
It's not part of. You know what I mean?
Rockstar has no say in the booting process, and
Right.
I mean, programs. That's all. That's all. Like hard drive or a broken Xbox. There's nothing they can really do.
Right.
Honestly,
But no, you're
man,
right.
I don't.
If they did
My
get
bad.
rid of it, it would definitely be a lot better. But it's obviously kind of one of those hard.
There could be
rock
ways
and
they
hard
can
place
combat
type
it
thing.
more.
Yeah, no, that is true.
They can do something about the FAA. There was no
Yes.
such thing as FAA on 360. That was the golden age for the MC community.
Because people didn't cheat to win.
Mm.
Exactly, man. Like for real. Like, bro. Once we got bigger, that's when our community started getting infected with all this bullshit.
We didn't even have near like as many the marksman debates or sniper debates in general. Even though back in that day, that's when you had to use the old standard sniper. If you that people technically classified that as 1%, but a lot of the clubs didn't really look at that, and that's what like back in that day, I didn't get sniped near as much as I do nowadays
Right.
because people actually respected bylaws and they didn't try to create their own because you all went off of one basis of bylaws.
Okay, I can read it. I got it. There was a question asked in the chat again by Everyday Russian. He said, "Thoughts on Lucky V 1820? Heard his name thrown around a little."
I really don't want to speak on specific people in this community, because I mean honestly, that's not what we're about. We don't bias against people.
Exactly.
So, Mr. Everyday Russian, I apologize, but we are not able to answer that specific question. So this next question can go to any of you, anyone specifically. Do you think GTA 6 will be have more bike customization than GTA 5 does?
I'd hope so.
I mean honestly, I feel like you know how Red Dead's more of an interactive game. Like it's a lot more realistic, quote unquote, in my opinion. Like you can interact a lot more with the environment and all this other stuff. I feel like GTA 6 is gonna not be built off of Red Dead, but it's gonna follow that same realistic kind of immersive gameplay. If you know, because all the GTA games have gotten progressively more and more interactive, but Red Dead just kind of, I feel like it's gonna set the standard.
Set the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
If I can build on that.
Of course.
Honestly, I would say that that's exactly what's gonna happen. As far as bike customization, I don't know if I'd go that far with it, because like so far what we've seen, Rockstar has kind of ignored our community to like the fullest. Like we had to petition for years just to get the biker DLC, and there's been no follow up on that whatsoever. Like they gave us the biker DLC, and now nobody, like it's kind of like they were like, okay, let's do this, and then they just kind of like forgot about us.
Right.
Like there's been no building up on it. They've had opportunities to include extra bikes and whatnot in drip feed and updates. Like, come on, you're gonna make us all of these fancy flying vehicles and whatnot that we can't even use. For how, like, bro, we see with modding that it is very possible to create bikes that are usable in the game. But Rockstar doesn't want to, like, it would take the most minimal effort just to put an extra file in the game and make that available for purchase as a vehicle.
Let me cut you off there real quick. You know, if you guys have noticed, most of the stuff that we've been wanting is already programmed into the game at some point. Like the Sovereigns, you easily be able to customize this because you already got the vehicle format and all that. All you have to do is just be able to take the livery off of it. That's all we want. Like a lot of people just want the Sovereign. But like most of the stuff that we want is programmed into this game. They just choose not to give it to us.
Right.
And I mean, back even when we got the biker update, everybody, oh yeah, Papa Wolf did it. No, it was I look at it as we all did it. It wasn't
Right.
just Papa Wolf that went up to Rockstar and was like, hey, you better give us this stuff.
Well, it was
Honestly,
a petition.
I'm gonna give EP credit where it's due. EP really did do a lot of work to help the community get that update. But honestly, I don't think that I could accredit the entire movement just to him. I think it was a collaborative effort between him coordinating the community in a manner that was presentable to Rockstar.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they're not against this, but I feel like we're more of a frowned upon community for some reason. That's my thought process.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
That. And the thing that gets me about it is, personally, I feel like we're kind of the biggest community.
oh, no doubt.
But yet they cater to. I mean, this newest update with the arcade and stuff, I feel like was pointed at the role players.
That was, yeah, or anybody, honestly. It wasn't like, hey, let's drop a new freaking tank with laser weapons on it for Milsims and shit like that.
I mean, they try to be fair. I'll give them that, but I feel like the Milsims have been given the biggest helping of anything
Right.
when
And Crown
they
Families,
really.
I guess, because they tend to use Milsim tactics without the uniforms and stuff.
They don't use tanks, but they do use a lot of these new cars and stuff
Yeah,
to
like
run
insurgents
people
and
down.
stuff. Yeah,
Proper crime families are in short supply these days.
I agree.
I remember back Crime Family days when you had to get blessed to even start yourself up.
Yep.
And
I
now
remember
people just
that.
kind of pop up everywhere calling themselves real families when, like, the OG families aren't even here anymore. Well, some of them maybe. But other than
Hmm.
that, it's just kind of a toxic community to me.
Yeah, it is.
Honestly, there's only one family that I'll actually recognize, and that's the Benicis.
The Lucians are actually my old club, believe it or not. Like back on 360, that was my club. But now they've turned to the Crime Family route. And a lot of the OG members aren't even there. Next topic.
I think that was it.
I think that was the 4 main ones we had.
Yeah.
Cerberus.
I mean, anybody else? Anybody else got anything they'd like to add on any of these?
Sorry about that. I was receiving a phone call. Yeah, those were all of the questions that we had written for this episode. So, before we close out, what?
I think there was another question in chat.
The live chat? Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
Who makes the
Uh,
modded content for your club? Cheveo does.
Well, that would be, yeah.
We also have a
Follow me,
biker mod
Chevelle.
subscription,
Yes, we
but
do.
we use Cheveo's content more. Honestly, I'd recommend him. He didn't do too
Oh,
bad
most
on us.
definitely. Hit us up on Instagram, man. Fallen.vproductions. We'll make any modded content that you want, bud.
We make
Within
patches,
reason, of course.
modded photos. I think we even make intros and all sorts of those like stuff.
Yeah, man. Catered to the community. Anything you need, you can pretty much get it from us.
Yep. Well, with that say, or any other questions?
I actually would like to build on something that was said earlier.
Okay.
Well, as far as RDR2 being like the basis for GTA 6, that's actually very accurate. Like Rockstar has already kind of said that. Like they're centering RDR2 around the roleplay aspect of the community like very heavily, and
Challenge
the,
away.
like they're basically basing how that turns out, like the popularity of it, and like in the whole roleplay aspect as a whole. Like depending on how well that does, that's going to determine how they move forward with GTA 6.
I mean, even some of the mechanics in that game, like that's just for example, fist fighting in that game. Like to me, that it looks extremely detailed to me. Like you can block and all that. Where in GTA, it's just kind of like you're hitting air sometimes. Like all these mechanics, horses, blah blah blah. Like that takes a lot of programming. But
Right.
I feel like GTA 6 is gonna, like he said, is gonna be. They're gonna be gathering like data from that and trying to manipulate that into GTA 6 in some shape or form.
Right.
Honestly, I'm very curious to see how they transfer all the online data over. Because people aren't going to be too happy if everything that they've worked for years to do
Oh, I'm
is
not
just
gonna be
thrown
happy.
away.
All of you guys have modded accounts. I had to grind for this thing.
I did too, Zach. Don't worry about it.
Honestly, I'm kind
mean,
of scared to
certainly.
transfer my modded account. Like, for real, what happens? Like, you know, it's like I'm walking through customs and they're just like, "Oh, sir, you're carrying 1.4 billion dollars." Like, just yeah,
What,
yeah.
for what? You know? Where would I
This
fit
was
all that money?
definitely legit grinded. I have been grinding every day for 9 hours straight over the past 6 years of my life. Don't you try to discredit me.
I feel like it wouldn't even take that long. I just feel like a few months at that, grinding like that, would get
I
you
don't
a
know,
few
man.
billion.
Like, I've had this account for what? Like well, I've had this account since like 2013, but like this account's been modded since 2016, like August of 2016, and I've like, you know, I started out with 3 bill. And the day that I got it modded is the day that I transferred it to Xbox One. And like
Yeah.
Really?
I'm at half. I am now at 1.4 billion dollars. I am at like I'm only 100 mil off from, or whatever, so much off from being at half of what I started out with. And this is almost 4 years later.
Hang on, let's have a flashback moment here. Do y'all remember when GTA 5 was so young, like on 360? I don't even think it was a month old. Everybody had those modded bounties, and you'd kill one, and you'd be a billionaire.
I remember those.
Those
Yes,
lobbies were
bro.
the best.
Yes, man. I actually got a couple of those put on me, like, you know, just over here, like Flash Freeze 1313 has like a $1.4 billion bounty on them, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I
But
gotta get to
see-
my apartment.
That was back in the day when the money was useless. Like the most expensive thing in the game was the adder, and that was only a million.
Matter, yeah. Yeah, that
I
is
remember
true.
that.
And I mean, even that, like, money was virtually useless. All you really needed to do was just
Get
enjoy
your one,
free room.
one up, and freaking. If you wanted to get fancy, you can get the apartment in the Eclipse Towers that's customizable.
Yes.
No, they didn't even have customizable apartments back then. It was just that
No,
one.
they- Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, they did,
It was-
and they had
No,
they
no,
had
no.
like 2.
On 360, there was the Eclipse penthouse that was the most expensive, but I remember
It
because
was
the
only
first
like
thing that I
400,000.
the first thing that I bought when I transferred over to the
Was
one
that
was
Eclipse
one of the
penthouse?
was one of those customizable apartments. Actually, I'm pretty sure Cerberus was at my house when I did it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
GTA 5 was a lot more basic back then, and I enjoyed it a lot more.
I miss the simplicity.
I do
It was,
too.
it was a lot friendlier of a place to be in. Like, you know, we'd have lobbies of 16 and pretty much everybody would be in game chat. Like, we
Right,
could
yeah,
go
we-
down
we
to the
could-
airport and organize, like, car meets and whatnot.
And I mean, this isn't GTA related, but in Black Ops 2, when you played like a search and destroy match, like they forced you to go in game chat just so you can, you know, socialize. Well, not socialize, it's more to communicate. But I mean, like, everybody wanted to use game chat. Now we're all just kind of stuck in party chats doing whatever.
Well,
like, you
there's so
didn't-
much
you don't-
toxicity now. I feel like
Yeah.
as like us are getting older, the younger kids are coming around, and
And that's what makes the community bad.
exactly because you get these
Sometimes, I
toxic kids screaming the N word and stuff like that. And it's just like, what the hell?
It's just, you don't know what to do. You don't want to be around them.
Exactly. So
That's
the
why
only way
everybody
to
huddles
escape
and-
that is in parties.
It's like when I'm in game chat sometimes, just kind of chilling to myself. Like, I get surprised when I meet other people in game chat. And I've been in GTA
That aren't
lobbies and
complete
I've been in
weebs,
game
yeah.
chat. Yeah, I mean, I've been in GTA game chats with little kids screaming, you know, racial slurs
Exactly.
like you
Yeah.
said, and a bunch
Or
of grown
everyone
men yelling at
blasting
them.
music. Yeah.
Honestly,
And
like,
the
I've
mic
met
quality's
some of...
terrible.
Oh,
it
hell
really
yeah.
is.
I've met some of my best like lifelong friends on this platform in game chat. Like my friend Cameron, I met him in an Xbox 360 game chat like within like the first week that I got my 360. First thing I did, I met him, I got in his adder, we drove somewhere, I got out, you know, I was like a level 5, so I thought he was gonna murder me, so I murdered him first. And like, you know,
And that's
we've
how you
been
made
like,
friends back then.
yeah, like we've been real good buddies ever since. Like, you know, I remember one time he even offered to pay my bail out of jail because I was like, yo, man, I might get locked up later tonight. And he was like, all right, man, like, you know, I'll send your mom the money to pay you out of jail. I'm like, all right, let's go.
And I mean, honestly, the people sitting around this fire, like, I could see us going another few years being friends, you know? Like, that, we all
Think a few
met
years.
back, I think, no, more than a few years, but,
That's my point.
Frosty,
like, I met some of my best friends on the Xbox, you know? Like, most of them are sitting around the fire right now.
yeah, man, like, I love and appreciate all of you. Like, honestly, Cerberus and I are planning a trip down to go see Frosty not too long. He lives lower in our great state.
And, yeah. It's gonna be great.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
He
Well,
has puppies.
guys, that was all the
They'll be gone
topics
by
for
the
the
time you
night.
see me.
And I think that's where we're gonna cut off this episode. We've been going for almost 30 minutes, so this is
Isn't bad.
Fallen Podcast. Me and the boys will be back for the next episode. We'll have some more questions. We'd love to take more of your questions. So if anyone wants to send some questions in to any of us on Instagram, we'll be sure to filter them through and talk about some of them on the
Or-
show. And
Howdy.
well, before I get off, I will address. We had Tiffany Webster say hello. So
Oh, Tiffany.
hi,
Hello.
As in the Webster's Dictionary Empire.
Tiffany. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Alright,
that's
so-
founder.
We make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and leave some comments down below so we could
And if you wanna,
hopefully get questions on the next episode.
if you wanna be on
Would,
it, then we'll send you an application.
Yep.
And maybe
And,
be in one of our episodes.
Episode 3, we already have our guest, so we'll send out some applications, or if you want to join, even if you leave a comment below the video, or you DM us on one of on Instagram, then we'll try to get you in.
We all relatively respond quickly.
So this is Fallen Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.